Hi, this is Carrie from Scrapyard Chicks. I just want to show you what our project is for the week. It's this great little album. I did it with a travel theme, and I did our favorite places. I found the stash of travel paper that I had that I must have bought for a project, and so I decided I wanted to use it up and do a couple of kits out of this. So here's what the outside looks like. It's just a little kind of a 6x6 size, but when you open it up, what you have inside are two different little accordion pullouts. And so I did this really cute closure here where I use book rings, and it works like kind of a little belt. I thought it looked kind of like a travel kind of thing. So when you open these up, you could tie this, of course, if you wanted to. When you open this up and then you pull this out, it's an accordion piece on each side and then on the back side. So there's lots of room for pictures on there. So that's you have that on one side, and then I did the same thing on the other side. I'm just using a different color cardstock, which you could, of course, use the same color if you wanted to. So you can just kind of see how that looks. And there's a pocket on a couple of the little segments, and there's just lots of room for you to put photographs and stuff and things on there. And then also included is a sheet of printout quotes for you to use, including the one for the title. So that's really handy. That way you can just print those out. Or if you're buying a kit of this, you'll actually have these already printed for you to put right on your pages. It just kind of adds sometimes a kind of a nice little embellishment. Add a little bit of ribbon, so a couple brads, that kind of thing. Anyway, so this is our project for the week. So if you're one of our subscribers, stay tuned, and I'll go on with the directions of how to put together our project. Thanks from Scrapyard Chicks. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start out with our cover. So we have our 6x6 piece of chipboard, and we are going to cut a 6x6 piece of pattern paper for the front and the back side of each of our covers, for both our front and back cover, the inside and the outside. That's probably what I should call them. And you can use whatever method is your favorite. If you like using tape runner, if you like using glue stick or zip dry, just whatever you kind of like to glue that paper down. So if you have a directional piece like what I'm using here, you want to just make sure that you get all of them going the correct way, even though this is square. If you're using a different directional piece for the inside, you want to make sure you've got them facing the same way. So I'm going to do this cute stripe on the inside of my cover. And then I just did the same thing for the front and the back covers. So I've got this, and I'm just going to go ahead and put this kind of fun diagonal stripe down. So I already did the other cover. So this is going to be my front, and then this is going to be my back cover. So I'm just going to put those off to the side right here for a second. And then we're going to do our binding piece. And for the binding piece, what you want to do is you want to cut a piece that is 3x6. So we're going to put it into our score pal, and we want to score this at 1 1/4 from that long edge. Now my score pal doesn't have 1/4 inch marks, so I'm going to go ahead and slide that over to the 3, and then I can score that at the 4 1/4, flip it around, and do the same thing. So I've already scored mine, so I'm just going to go ahead and fold that along those score lines like so. I'm going to put this off to the side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to glue my covers right, oops, that's the outside, right onto my binding strip like this. Now for this step, I'm not going to use my tape runner. I'm going to use some liquid glue because I really want this to stick. So what we're going to do is we're just going to glue that right down to that fold line. And then what that does is that gives us that little 1/2 inch binding right there that's going to that we're going to be able to accommodate our pages that we're going to put inside. So go ahead and glue that little strip down, and I'm just going to put that mine off to the side, and we're going to work on our pages. So for the pages for this, what you want to do is you want to take, I used one and then a piece of cardstock for each one. So you're going to cut one of your pieces of cardstock into 6x12 pieces, and the other one you want to cut, you need just a 4 1/2x6 piece. So, and then just put the rest of it aside. You can use it for photo mats and such. And so what you're going to do, you're going to score these the same way for both of them. Go ahead and put it in your score pal like this. And we're going to score this at 4 1/2 and again at 9 on each one of our strips. So go ahead and you're just going to do both your strips the same way at 4 1/2 and at 9. And then just go ahead and accordion fold those like this. I'm going to go ahead and put this off to the side. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to make this into a long strip. So we're going to put adhesive on the back of this little short piece, and that's going to go behind this front page. And then we're going to glue this last piece on at the end. So we end up with a piece that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels long. So I've already done that with my other color, because you're going to need to do this twice. So you're going to want 2 different colors, or you can do them the same if you'd like. You know, that's perfectly fine. It doesn't matter if you want them to look exactly alike. That's okay. I went ahead and did 2 different colors that coordinated with my pattern paper. And when you glue these down, you want that to go right into that valley area right there, like that. So I'm just going to put my adhesive on the back side of that flap. And then I'm just going to glue that last one right down like this. Okay, so we end up with 2 pieces, long pieces like this. So we've got, I did a brown and a blue. Now what I want is I want the folds as they start to be in the center. So when I go to put that in my book, I want this one to kind of fold out like this and this one to fold out like this. So before you start putting paper and stuff on there, you want to make sure you've got your folds going the correct way. Okay, so what we're going to do next is you need a piece of twill tape. You need a yard, and then just go ahead and cut this in half. And what we're going to do is, this is going to be our closure around our little booklets. So it's going to actually wrap around. So what we're going to do to get started with this is we're going to do kind of a different kind of a closure. I've got 2 of these little tiny book rings. I would say these are probably, hold on just a sec. Okay, sorry about that. So what we're going to do next is we've got about 18 inches. I'm using a fun kind of a twill tape. You could use ribbon or whatever you like for this. And then I'm going to take 2 book rings, or you can use big jump rings, and I'm going to attach them to one end of my twill tape. And I'm going to do that just by looping this over, and then I'm actually going to fasten them together with a brad. And that's just going to kind of hold them down. You could use an eyelet if you wanted to. You definitely need something. You might be able to use staples. That might hold just fine. But I don't know that just like a glue dot would do the trick. So you're going to do it down, kind of see how like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to end up wrapping this around. This is going to really be a fun closure. And then it actually kind of fastens like a belt around there like this. So it's just really fun. So what you want to do is go ahead and attach those rings to one end of this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to center this on our little booklet, and we're going to glue the back of that down. So you just kind of want to find where the center point is. And you can mark it if you want, or you can just kind of, I'm just going to kind of mark it with my fingers. And you don't have to glue it down too great, because what's going to happen is we're actually going to, we're going to be gluing these little booklets down inside of our covers. So once again, I'm going to kind of center those. You could put them off here if you wanted to a little bit more. And then I'm just going to kind of wrap that twill tape just like that. Then what I'm going to do next is I want to take my liquid glue, and I'm going to put liquid glue all over the back side of this, and then inside of my cover, I'm actually going to glue this piece right down inside there. And so what that's going to be then is it's going to open up like this. And then here, I'll just tack it down for a second so you can kind of see the way that looks. But I'm going to go back and fasten that in with some liquid glue. So you want to center that in your cover, on the inside of your cover like this. And then you've got your closure piece. And it's just going to look like that. Isn't that cute? We're going to repeat that same technique for the other side of our little book. And then when they're done, that's going to be our outside. So you can go ahead and do those steps. That's pretty much our construction of our book. We did our covers. We've got those accordion pieces. So you can go ahead and you can do that part, and then I'll be back to show you how I use the rest of my pattern paper and a fun quote printout to finish this up. Okay, I'm back and I'm finished with our book. So I did this as a travel book, and so I called this Our Favorite Places. I thought I could go through and put some photos in of some of the great places that we've gone on vacation and such. So here's what the outside of the covers look like. We've got our, our binding that we did, and this is all on the printout sheet, and then I just hand wrote in the hour. You could do my, whatever you like. I'm sorry, and my window open, and there's a motorcycle going by. So anyway, so this is, then you open it up like this, and then here's our two little books. So on the left side, I did the brown, and so as that pulls out, you can kind of see what the different pages look like. So I did a pocket out of one of my strips of paper with a couple little smaller photos in there, and then you can just kind of see, and then this is the back side. I just did some full 4x6 pieces on there. So you can kind of see how that goes. And then on the right side is my, I did the blue, and so that just pulls out like this. Once again, I did a pocket, and then there's a quote on each one of the pages about a journey. And then on the back side, I just did solid pieces of paper. So you can kind of see how I went through and embellished everything. I added a couple of brads, some ribbon. Like I said, this little pocket right here, that's probably the trickiest part, and I actually just stapled mine closed. It's just a 4x8 strip, scored at 2.5 inches, and you fold it up. It's in your directions, and then I just did a couple of inserts for that. So that's what our book looks like when it's all finished. So you've got these two little booklets on the side that pull out, lots of space for pictures. One of the tricks one of the things you want to keep in mind when you're doing your closures, I had to move one of mine, is when you have it closed, you want to make sure that they don't hit each other. Otherwise, it will make it really bulky. So I actually moved my left one so that way when my book is closed, they don't touch each other. So anyway, that's our project for the week. I hope you enjoy it and have fun making that, and I'll see you next week.